Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please let the record show that we are beginning our meeting at 5:01. Looking for an approval of the agenda, please. Moved by Councillor Olson on the question. Please vote.
And Deputy Mayor.
Deputy Mayor, are you okay? Yep. Oops. Motion carried 6-0. Also, Councillor Donovan will be arriving a little bit later. Item 3A, we are now in the open session of the Committee of the Whole. 3A item is consumer fireworks, background information and preparations for plebiscite discussion, and staff report from the Chief Administrative Officer. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this item has been brought before Council again. So as you recall, at a meeting held in January of this year, Council reviewed the information from Elections New Brunswick regarding the municipal elections and adding a plebiscite to, and there was two options provided for Council at that time. And so staff, Council had authorized staff to submit to Elections New Brunswick a well-worded question in accordance with the LGA and the Elections Act, no later than February 24th, 2026, to have it included in the 2026 municipal elections scheduled for May 11th, 2026. So we are back before Council with a couple options. One, if it is Council's wish to proceed, we would like to engage a market research company to help with the wording of that question to make sure that it's absolutely clear and concise regarding the consumer fireworks, and so it can be placed on the ballot. And then also we provided an option if Council wishes to reconsider this decision. It should also be communicated to the Fireworks Ad Hoc Committee as well, just to keep that in mind, that we do have that separate committee that was established for this file. So I'll turn it back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you. So you had the report there from the clerk on the, yes, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to the clerk for bringing us up to date on that. When this came up for a vote some months ago related to the idea of moving forward with a ballot question as a plebiscite, I opposed it. I voted against it. I was the only one who did at the time. And I still oppose it. And I'd like to just maybe discuss a little bit, particularly why I think it is perhaps well-intentioned, but not actually going to be very effective. And I guess one of the things I would point to is that we seem to have, after a lot of, discussion first with Council going back to when we first arrived here in this iteration of Council, and then with the ad hoc committee on fireworks. We've certainly had lots of discussion, and there was a strong sentiment that there was great value in the idea of working to be synonymous with the town of Rothesay. And there might be a presumption that Rothesay has passed a motion to create a bylaw that would ban the sale and use of consumer fireworks in their town. But it is true that in July, of 2023, 2.5 years ago almost, they did narrowly pass that motion, after a lot of discussion and a lot of uncertainty expressed for some of the same reasons that we've expressed, there's nothing new under the sun, maybe. It was passed, but subsequent to that, it was tabled some months later based on some later information that was received by two councillors in Rothsay about fireworks and the value or, maybe uncertainty around outright bans and so on. And so that's not happening in our lovely sister town currently. It was tabled, and in the last year and a half, there's been zero discussion about it. And so I wanted to point out first and foremost that to the degree that we're trying to create something that we believe would line up better with what's happening in Rothsay, it's not happening there. I do think, and I think that my concerns. I had looked at the report that Rothsay reviewed from the fire chief at the time when they, were discussing this. It's virtually a carbon copy of the information that we've reviewed related to the, the uncertainty of the fire department about being able to enforce anything, or the reality that there are, essentially no injuries or deaths related to the use of consumer fireworks in our town. And so of the numerous options that were suggested by the fire department at that time, one of them was to remain with the status quo and mount a public awareness campaign about maybe the better use or the best use, the safest use of consumer fireworks. And I note that that was one of the things that came out of the staff report at the dissolution of the fireworks ad hoc committee, the fourth bullet point. No, excuse me, the fifth bullet point. No, that's not right either. Maybe it wasn't here. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong page. There was a determination made. Here we are. This is the Fireworks Review Ad Hoc Committee Notes, September 25th, 2024. On the second page of that report, Mayor O'Hara spoke with the town of Rothsay, and they will be moving forward with a ban of backyard use and sale of fireworks. I just addressed that. This bylaw has not yet been passed by Rothsay Council. That was as of September 25th, 2024. It still has not been over a year later. In fact, it's not ever come back up for discussion, in fact, since it was tabled around June of 2024. And the idea of working together on some sort of public awareness campaign, points noted, point 3 says discussion on a public awareness campaign, all agreed on the importance of establishing a promotional campaign and efforts to promote safe usage. I'm not aware that that's ever occurred. So unless someone wants to correct me on that or point me to where on our social media or our website that we ever mounted that campaign. Anyway, all of this to say that I do not actually believe that the best option for us is to be out of step with what's happening in our broader community. And although I do believe that there's value in, doing everything we can, being doubly sure of the safety of the use of consumer fireworks, I don't believe it represents, I think the evidence, the data, which we claim to, want to use when we're considering these things, the data doesn't indicate anything as far as I can tell, except that there are some people who, with very heartfelt reasons, don't like fireworks. Now, that's enough reason to perhaps, want to try to mitigate their use and ensure the safest use and that they're not used frivolously or after a particular time of day or night or what have you. I haven't even heard fireworks for the longest time. I don't use fireworks. I don't buy fireworks. I got no dog in that race. But I don't think it rises to the point of an outright ban, and I certainly don't think that the use of a plebiscite on a ballot question represents the best leadership by this body. And in fact, I think that there's great value in considering rather forwarding this as a resolution to UMNB for consideration to be submitted and considered by perhaps the province of New Brunswick on a provincial level at the AGM next year. So with that said, let me just end by making a motion, and then we can move on from there. I move that council remove the request of staff to prepare a plebiscite for the 2026 Quispamsis municipal ballot regarding fireworks, instead allowing me to subsequently present a draft resolution for council to review and approve, which can then be forwarded to a subsequent UMNB zone meeting for presentation at the 2026 AGM, lobbying the provincial government on behalf of all NB municipalities as to how to best deal with fireworks throughout the entirety of the province. And I've supplied the clerk with that language so that it can be hopefully put on the screen if we just wait a moment. So I guess with that, I submit that to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. On the question, Councillor Luck, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I was on the fireworks committee, so I guess out of respect for all the work that went into the discussions, and I think the challenge is when you look back historically, we've kicked this issue down the road over and over and over again, and I think that's what the impetus was for putting together a fireworks committee to begin with. So, you know, again, I actually don't have any objection to perhaps bringing it to the municipalities, but I wonder in terms of process, because it was a motion that was approved and acted on, I'm guessing we can't just make a motion to say we're not doing it anymore. There must be more to the process for that to happen. Again, I don't have a dog in the race, but I do have concerns that, you know, this keeps coming up over and over and over, and we do need to have a solution. And I guess I thought, based on all the work that the fireworks committee put in place, the solution was proposed and accepted by council to finally put it out as a plebiscite at the next election to understand exactly what the residents want and to move from there, you know, to go from there. I definitely think we need to have a solution because it's been going on far too long. And, you know, I think the reason why we haven't been hearing fireworks is because of the drought this summer. Hopefully people did have enough common sense not to be shooting them off when we didn't have, you know, people were worried about well water drying up. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, but I do have concerns about kind of just undoing all the work that's been done because it's now kind of a little bit kind of not top of mind and making a rash decision that we just kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Luck. Also, when we are voting on any concern, any issue, it is the task of committees to do work in order to bring us to a certain point. So I would suggest that your decision not be based on the number of hours or the time that was put into the proposal that was put forth previously, but to look on the merit of what is before us today, and to perhaps when we have the information in order to take a different path, that we consider that rather than what has gone on in the past. Finding a solution that might be province-wide may be the direction that we should be taking. Having a plebiscite removes the onus from council, but I'd have to ask, is it also taking responsibility away from this council and making a decision one way or the other? So I would ask that you balance out all of the information. And of course, we've had success in the past by bringing things forward to UMNB and having our resolutions presented there so that they can be lobbied province-wide through the lobby organization. I'll go to Next in line, and that would be Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Baker. I guess this is a divisive conversation. I've been here for 14 years. People are either for it, against it, and some don't care. But you're never going to get a resolution. We tried here many times. We tried just holidays. We tried different things, and we could never get a positive vote regardless. Saying that, we haven't had any, or I don't recall, somebody talking about fireworks here. Now, thank goodness, maybe it was because of the drought, for the last 2 years, year and a half. I don't think you'll appease anybody. I think we do need to be in step with Rossi, and you're 100% correct. It was passed 4-3, and then it was tabled later on. If we don't do what Councillor Bigger is saying, I would definitely not pay somebody to write a question. With all due respect, I think we can write a question. We've known about this for a long time. We don't need to pay somebody to do a question. We pay too many studies as it is now. It's a simple question if we do go that route, but that's on that. But I do see merit in what Councillor Baker, but I don't even know if UNMB is part of that too, because it's a whole different attitude if you're up in cities that actually do fireworks for July 1st and things like that. St. John does it over the harbor. You've got Campbellton do it over the bridge in the Bay of Chaleur. So I don't know if UNMB is the right place. I think it's just, you got to get the councils between Rossi. Again, if you do want to do anything on this, or is it just going to be status quo? Because how are you going to catch somebody? So, yeah, I just said if we are going to do a plebiscite though, I would not vote to pay anybody to write a question. So thanks.
Thank you. I will go now to Deputy Mayor Squire, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. And to start with, I'm a little confused as to why this has come back. There was a vote taken and direction was given to staff to move forward. So very rarely do we have something come back when a decision has been made and voted on. So I'm not quite sure why this is back in front of us. I know it's probably past its 3 months and you can do a reconsideration. However, I just question what prompted this reconsideration to once it was passed, and I haven't heard any conversations about fireworks in a long time. So that's my first concern as to why it's here in front of us again. I do agree. I felt at the time, and I believe if I remember, if my memory serves me correctly, I did vote against the motion as well, that I thought it was the duty of council to come up with a decision, but the committee had presented to us and it was talked about and discussed, and council felt that they couldn't make a decision and that this is the route they wanted to go. So I was fine with that. And I did express, you know, when you put something to a plebiscite, you have pros and cons. You have lobby groups for, lobby groups against. So there's a lot to go with those plebiscites. But anyway, it is what it is. It's here tonight. So as far as I was concerned, we were moving forward with having it going to Elections New Brunswick, and I felt the same way as Councillor Miller. I thought that we could probably use the assistance of some new technology to help us come up with a well-written question, and if and call upon the expertise of Elections New Brunswick at the same time, because they must have quite a fair amount of expertise in how to word a plebiscite, I would think. So that's my question. If somebody can answer to me as to why it's back here and we're not moving forward as voted on.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to turn over to the clerk, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. It was brought back because of the wording of the question, just to be sure that council gets the proper wording. Not everybody knows what the difference between consumer fireworks and such, so we wanted to be sure that this is the direction that council wanted to proceed with. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with Mike's motion. And I will say that it wouldn't matter whether there was a plebiscite or not. You're going to get people that are going to say, I don't like fireworks. I love fireworks. You know, you're gonna get it back and forth. And even if the plebiscite came up with everybody was against fireworks, those people that like fireworks are still going to light off fireworks. It doesn't matter if plebiscite or not, it's not gonna make any difference. You know, it's, all it's gonna do is make us feel better. That's all it's gonna do. So it's not going to be very useful in my mind. I don't know whether I voted in favor or against, I can't remember at the time, but right now, I'm supporting Mike's motion, because I don't believe that a plebiscite is of any use at all.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Olson, please.
Well, just to continue on with the divide on this issue, I like the idea of the plebiscite. It was a community-wide one that we were going to poll our residents. Council is beating it around every meeting that we had, and not with any real decisive decision. And I said, well, to myself, I said, well, they're gonna have a chance to vote yea or nay. And it could be 60-40, but you know, the democratic process, 51's a majority. So, but it's just to give everybody that chance to voice their opinion. So, anyway, I'm not really cast in stone on any direction on this particular item, but it's something that we should be dealing with.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. I was also, I'm going to walk away from the chair for a second. I was also on the ad hoc committee, and one of the things that I learned was that the reports that were brought in by Fire Chief Mike Boyle stated that there was really not a hazard at this point in time that he has found, or that the study has found for the community. From the policing point of view, this could become an arduous task for this to be enforced if the police were to get calls stating that my next door neighbor is setting off fireworks. So I think, you know, looking down the road, I think we have to weigh this out carefully as to where does it go from here. If it is not voted in favor of having fireworks banned, where does that position the police? If it is in favor of allowing fireworks to go forward, what kind of education can we present to the public to make sure that it is safe? So again, it's a balancing act. And I think we do have to be careful when we're told by the specialists or by the professionals that there are still some concerns. I will circle back to Councillor Bigger for a follow-up.
Yeah.
I will provide one follow-up on the question
Yeah.
for everyone, and after that, we will take a vote. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Your Worship. Just a couple of points of clarity, I guess. I think for me, one of the concerns about a plebiscite in this regard is that we don't have complete clarity ourselves, and I don't think that that's the greatest proposition to go to the townspeople about, saying that we don't know what we think is right. We can't come to a conclusion ourselves. We've been, of course, elected to adjudicate and consider and confer and convene on these matters. And I certainly appreciate what Councillor Luck's saying about the work that was done by the committee. There was a lot of work done, of course. But if we are to turn this into a ballot question, notwithstanding the direction of the staff report to create a well-worded question, none of the insight that we've gleaned from the fire chief or the insights that we've gathered as we've discussed it and looked at it, none of that is represented in a plebiscite. You just have a straight up and down, what's your opinion question. And I don't think that takes into account the nuance that we've considered regarding this situation. And I'm not suggesting that we eliminate any prospect of mitigating or even banning ultimately the use of consumer fireworks in our town. I'm just talking about the forum that we're pursuing for that. I think there's ample reason, as I said initially, to consider this. I just question the use of the plebiscite as a forum. I don't believe it's binding. It could come back 50-50. We don't even know if respondents, I don't know, I was looking, but I didn't find this afternoon what the voter turnout was in our last municipal election in ratio to the population. But whatever it was, we don't know that people would avail themselves of the opportunity to pencil in their opinion about it at all. And so we might go to the trouble of spending some dough and getting it out there. And then what happens if, 100 people respond to it and everybody else says, I don't care, whatever, And so anyway, that's largely why I'm concerned about the plebiscite as the right place to go. And it's true that we haven't heard anything about fireworks for quite a while, and I think that the burn ban that's been on is largely because of that. And our bylaw stipulates that currently, that you're not allowed to detonate or, let off anything like a consumer firework when we're under a burn ban. So lastly, this is from a report that was offered by the police chief. As I say, it's virtually synonymous with what we got from Chief Boyle, but this one in particular was offered to the town of Rothsay. Says that the fire department would support the town pursuing this from a provincial perspective. So Chief Boyle himself, in a report that he wrote, said that he likes the idea of us pursuing this at the provincial level. He goes on, of course, to say that the enforcement of the use of fireworks is exceedingly challenging, he says, for protective services. Most consumer fireworks displays are of short duration, and if a complaint is received by either department, when firefighters or police officers respond and investigate, the fireworks display is over, and evidence of where they were set off or by whom is difficult to obtain. And unlike a recreational fire, it's difficult for complainants to even pinpoint the exact address of where fireworks are detonated. So, of course, those are things we've considered, and the committee, no doubt, pondered all that as well. But I'll just leave it at that, and I appreciate everybody's thoughtful reflection. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Bigger. Deputy Mayor Squire, please.
And thank you, Your Worship. I'll just make a couple of comments. And one is I always feel that once a policy or a bylaw is in place, you get more compliance. Yes, we will always have people that won't comply, but the majority of people do comply once there is a bylaw in place. So, and the other thing to the Union of Municipalities, it has to go through this council, it has to go through the zone, and then it has to be presented at the union. So there's nothing to say that the Union of Municipalities would even agree to this, or they may vote it down as well, and then it's right back in our lap again. So, if council is concerned about making it, what they want to do with it, and they don't want to go the plebiscite way, then let's vote, yay or nay. Would you like to have fireworks or wouldn't you? I mean, we've all been presented with the information. We've got the committee report that they were at a standstill. So if it should be up to us to make a decision, then I'm fine with that, making that decision, taking it to a vote.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Luck, please.
I'd like to table this. I think Deputy Mayor Schreier actually brings up a really good point that, again, maybe we need to kind of go back in history and look at the recommendations of the working group. And if we feel that the plebiscite isn't the solution, again, if we could get down the road, it's not to say that it's actually going to get any traction with the UNMB. So maybe, as Councillor Bigger said, really it's our job as council to decide yay or nay. But I do think it needs to be tabled tonight because I don't think we should be making a rash decision on this. If that's going to be the case, I think we need to have a bit of time to reflect and re-look at the recommendations of the working group and review the information before we make a rash decision. And then also...
Just a point of order, a motion is not a rash decision. It's completely in keeping with the legislative process.
Point of order, Councillor Luck has tabled the item, and after...
There's a motion on the floor.
She hasn't. tabled it. She hasn't made a motion to table.
She just said she'd like to table the item. I just think once if something's tabled, there's no further discussion, am I right?
But I made a
there's
motion.
There's a motion on the floor. The motion has to be decided first.
And when I say rash, I don't mean the motion. I mean that we don't have time to prepare. When I read the agenda, I really didn't think it was going to go down this rabbit hole. So I personally would like to have time to look at the information before I make a rash decision, because it will be a rash decision if I have to vote on it tonight. So I'm not referring to the motion. It's the fact that I didn't see it going this way. I thought it was just a discussion on the question that might be proposed. And then also, if we are going to be relooking at it, then potentially also it gives us an opportunity to look at public awareness campaign, because that was something else that was discussed, which again, we kind of waited on because we were waiting for the plebiscite. So I guess there's just a few things that we should consider. So I would just caution myself and council that we shouldn't rush this. We've been kind of waiting for it. So I guess after the motion is voted on, I would request that we table it or bring it back at another meeting where we have the information and we have time to reflect on all the information that we've been going through over the last number of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Luck. Again, I'd like to caution that we do have reports from the fire chief who has said that he does not feel there is impending danger by having fireworks. And having attended those meetings, I'm going to reiterate. Then Police Chief Steve Gordo had also indicated that at this point in time, there would be huge and significant demands on the force to carry this out, to carry the request out. Thirdly, a plebiscite does mean abandonment of our responsibilities as council to make a decision at the council table. Fourthly, this has been a topic of discussion for a number of years. So it is not in haste that this is coming before council again. It is with an ad hoc committee that was formed. It is with discussions and reports from the police and fire chiefs. So I think there has been significant time dedicated to this. I'm not certain what further time is going to provide for us to make a decision. We have all the facts. We've done the research. The information is available to everyone. It's already been read. We've all had the same information. There is a motion on the table, and I think Councillor Bigger's motion to bring this before UMNB, and if there isn't an appetite at the provincial level, then at that point, we either look at it once again, or we say, okay, this is where the public lie at this point. It is not a significant impact on our residents. So on the question, there's one word, Councillor Bigger. Rather than remove the previous motion, it would be to rescind the previous motion.
Sure, that's
Madam Clerk, can you correct that, please? Would you like to read the motion, please?
Council rescind the request of staff to prepare a plebiscite for the 2026 Quispamsis municipal ballot regarding fireworks. Instead, allowing Councillor Bigger to subsequently present a draft resolution for council review and approval, which can then be forwarded to the subsequent UMNB zone meeting for presentation at the 2026 AGM, lobbying the provincial government on behalf of all New Brunswick municipalities as how best to deal with fireworks throughout the province.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. On the question, Counselor Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess it's just a general question / comment. So in the future, if somebody wants to do something like this, it would be appreciated if some additional information is sent ahead of time. So it's okay. But I'm just saying, you knew you wanted to do this and say, I want to talk about rescinding it, or I want to talk about changing it. It just would be nice to have that context versus, you know, I've got something coming up that I tried to make sure everybody knew what I'm talking about, give them time to think about it. And it's just, I'm not saying I'm against this, but if you know it's gonna happen, and obviously there's been some talk back and forth because there seems to be a lot of knowledge, at least from the mayor, of what's going on and to support you, which is fine, but we just gotta make sure that everybody kind of gets a top line, instead of just a blank thing here, is if you do have something, it'd just be nice to send a note saying, I want to talk about this, just to everybody have, be balanced before we get here, so that's it.
Thank you, Counselor Miller. On the motion, please vote. You what? Okay, before we call the vote, do you vote in favor? Against? So,
I'll correct
Counsel, okay, thank you.
So it would be 5-2.
Motion carried 5-2. Thank you. Item 3B, October 7th, 2025, Committee of the Whole Record of Proceedings. Looking for... Item number 4. We will go into closed session, so we're going to take a pause here for Tim to make that change.
Someone can make the motion. The closed session resolution can happen here.
Okay, so we can, Tim, have closed session resolution at this point before we close out. So may I have the closed session, Counselor Thompson, please?
Pursuant to Section 68(1) of the Local Government Act, the public will be excluded from the Committee of the Whole meeting for the duration of the discussion on the items that follow.
On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. We'll now have a pause so that we can switch from open Committee of the Whole to closed session. Thank you.